beside me.
Hey, any way you can manipulate your children into working for you is a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, she's learning so much.
I wish my kid would do her own taxes. I've been doing her taxes.
Lily doesn't have taxes yet. She's going to be 13 in a couple weeks, but she's doing she's entering all of the things in for the books, and she likes it, I think. So win-win.
Indeed.
All right, so where's the link that I should share this?
I am grabbing it for you
Oh, it
right.
says share on the bottom. Does that work?
It
No,
might.
no, that's share screen.
Oh, there you go. It's in the chat now.
Which
And I'm
chat?
on Facebook.
Oh,
Do I need to bring it to you over here in StreamYard?
copy. And then I just post it on my page.
Yep.
Okay.
Or share it from your page. Many things that you can do.
All right. I think I did it.
Okay.
All right.
All
So,
right. So we're talking about Mother's Day
we're
because
yeah,
Mother's Day.
because Mother's Day because I last night I made some requests that I normally don't make. So, we were sitting at the table and I said, "I want gifts." And in the past I've tried to downplay it, like whatever, I don't really care. And even in the past I've said really what I want is just like maybe a day to myself. But I was like, I want gifts. And Danny's always like, you buy whatever you want anyway, Grace. Like
I'm a hard
why?
person to shop for myself. Like, yes, because if I want it, I'll just buy it. I don't need a holiday and a gift list to just buy myself the thing that I want. No.
But I said like there's lots of little things that I enjoy, like ketchup chips and chocolate bars and things of that nature. Like you could go to the grocery store and just be like, what are the things that let's get a grocery shop. Let's do a grocery shop that's just for mom. And so then that was that. They were kind of like, okay, great. And then I woke up this morning and I opened up Facebook and I was hit with two posts specifically from like people I really love and respect, and I'm always here for what they have to say. But I found that I read the post and felt a few things. I felt guilty for wanting to be celebrated for Mother's Day was the first thing that came up for me. And then I wrote a post about it and I felt like it was actually really hard to articulate what I was trying to say because it's pretty like multifaceted. I don't know why I'm hearing an echo. Just a second. Sometimes if I mute and unmute, it gets better.
Maybe if you turn yourself down. Oh, there's a Heather here. Hello, Heather. We have people watching even. So, how about that?
Oh, great. Hello. Welcome. So yeah, so I started writing as I often do, like to process my own feelings. So like a lot of my Facebook posts are kind of like me in a fit of rage sometimes, just writing about like as I'm processing. So I posted it and I kind of realized after the fact that like like certain things are nuanced and they're going to be hard to understand over writing. So I mean, you jump in here anytime. I will go through kind of the things that came up for me.
So, I don't know what you saw. I do know that the last couple of years, especially, there has been a lot of sentiment the week leading up to Mother's Day about how hard Mother's Day is. And I speak from a great deal of experience when I say, yeah, I get it. Mother's Day is hard. I don't have a mother anymore. I have lost a child. Mother's Day is a very difficult day for me. And shouldn't I be allowed to snatch the joy from it in any way that I possibly can? shouldn't it be okay for me to want to be celebrated one fucking day out of the year for the tremendous amount of work that I do as a mother? Like, a few years ago, I did something very similar to you, and I told everyone I want to be left alone. And I posted about it on Facebook, and I got a tremendous amount of judgment for it. Like, how dare you not want to spend Mother's Day with your children? It was a big deal. And yet, what I wanted was to be left alone because that's what I
That's what you
needed.
wanted. Yeah.
That's what I needed.
Yeah.
Like, as a mother, we spend all of this time nurturing, caring, doing the things. I don't know. So,
well, so here's the thing. Like, as I think the way that I see it is we're talking about almost two different things that are like interconnected. So like as women, there's a lot of pressure, right? There's a number of things here. If I were to go through like a bulleted list, because that's how like my mind wants to work with this, it's like there's a lot of pressure around like, aren't you gonna live your full purpose and use your uterus and make new human life? And like, look, I fucking get it, okay? And there's also then like those of us who've lost mothers, and as you said, those of us who've lost children or had miscarriages or abortions, or for in my case ectopic pregnancies. Like there's all these things, and that is all really important. And I guess where I struggle is that it has to then come to, well, because of these things, that there's some offense when we're celebrating the mothers, because I think someone at one point in time said to me like, well, you chose to be a mother. Why do you feel like you have to be celebrated for it? Like, hang on a second.
Can I tell you all the women who didn't choose to be mothers? And can we talk about how we
to the fucking occasion?
Right. And can we talk about how we shame those women who didn't choose to be mothers and who, for whatever reason, end up having to carry a child to term because they weren't able to get an abortion, because they weren't, for whatever reason, and yet still rise to the occasion. Like, no, not every mother chooses to be a mother. Not every mother chooses the situation that child is born in. And we put all of the obligation and the onus on mothers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think like the other thing too is that even when we've chosen something, it doesn't mean that the thing isn't hard or difficult. You know, like
Exactly.
I didn't choose to have twins, right? Like that was really difficult for my, for where I was in my life, the lack of support I had based on where I lived, our financial situation. You know, Danny had to work 3 jobs, and it was just us, right? And so there's all these things too that it's like, so and so I like, the problem to me is actually like, how do I word this? We end up going at each other often, women. Like we're like mad at each other based on some patriarchal societal pressure or the way that we're viewed. But what I'm asking for here is that other women actually just take a moment to not feel like this is against them, but it is in honor and respecting of the women who made human life in their bodies never to be the same again. You know,
whether the child still lives or not.
Exactly. And the other thing too is that like we all have mothers, whether we have
Love
good
our mothers or not.
Right? Like, yeah, like whether we're in good relationship with those people or not, like we're here because of a decision or whatever, right? Like we're here because of that person. Like, so there to me still is this like, let us just have gratitude and honor and celebration for the fact also that like as mothers, let's go here. It's like we still have to show up and do all of the things that a normal person, a normal woman who works and who lives and who has to bathe and eat and whatever else. And there's now other human life that we're taking care of. Anyway, I'm going down like a bit of a rabbit hole, but I just felt this whole like and then the second part for me was like, I don't hear this around Father's Day.
Not at all. We don't have this angst around Father's Day at all, even though many of us have much more complicated relationships with our fathers. I certainly, I mean, my mother is dead, but I haven't spoken to my father in 15 years. Like, there's no relationship there. And yet, I still have children, and my husband has children, and his father died on Father's Day. So, like, it's a tough day for him too, but he does not also have to deal with this additional pressure about how he's supposed to be feeling on Father's Day, or that he's allowed to be celebrated on Father's Day. And I think,
Yeah, allowed to be celebrated. I mean,
right, and I think so much I was thinking about this. It's about how we hold space, right? Not every space is for everybody, and we should still be able to honor the people who are in that space anyway.
right,
When we say that I don't belong in that space, well, that's fine. Don't go there.
right,
That doesn't mean I don't belong in that space and that you can take it away from me because you don't like it. That's not how holding space works.
right. No. Well, it's like someone said to me this morning, like, I don't celebrate Kwanzaa or Christmas or whatever it is, but I'm not going to say to other people like that's offensive to me if they're going to celebrate something that's not, like, there's that. And then the other part is the same people that I see posting about the issues around Mother's Day will make no post about anything on Father's Day, or worse, they'll post saying like Happy Father's Day. So it's like you might have some, my dad passed away 7 years ago, and Father's Day is definitely a hard day. But do I take that away from my kid's dad, from Danny, from my partner? Like, nope. I mean, we'll have a moment. We'll have a moment where I'll be like, I
Right.
sure miss my dad, and this day is comes with so much joy and like hello, simultaneous emotion. Like they don't have to. They don't. They don't cancel each other out.
And I think that's a big part of it. How do we talk about holding all the things while actually holding them instead of prioritizing them? Because, like, this day is Mother's Day. It's one day where we honor the mother. And it's not even, mind you, worldwide. I Because Heather is here, she always wishes me Mother's Day, I think, like a month early because she's in Scotland. Like, it's not even culturally the same day, and yet the only time we hear have this conversation is in when it's Mother's Day in the United States and Canada, right?
Right.
Like, this is the only time we're having that conversation. Why can't we have one day, just one
Right.
day?
Just one day. Well, and that's the thing is like I was mad at myself after I put up the post because I was like, I'm part of the problem now. I'm part of perpetuating this conversation where I should have probably just shown up and been like, hey, mothers, good fucking job. Happy Mother's Day. But I felt like I couldn't, that I had to jump in and defend Mother's Day. And then, like, and then I was like, you shit. So, and like, and even for mothers, there, like you said, and I just want to circle back to this, there's like multi-layered of like having wanting to be celebrated for the mother that we are, for the mother that we didn't get to be, to the children, and the, to the loss, to those that we never got to be mothers to. And then there's also like the complexity of our relationship with our own mothers. But again, just being able to say, even recognizing, even if we're not saying Happy Mother's Day to anyone in particular, to recognize that the role of being a mother comes with a lot of complexity, and it is often, like, I put in my post that there's all these things, but then underneath it I put like there's also a loss of a sense of self, and there's a ton of gain. Of course, I'm 1000% a better person because I am a mother and because of my children, and it's all great. But I also have a part of Mother's Day where the reason that I would ask for time alone is just to have space in my own reflection on grief to some degree. Not even grief for the loss of the babies who never came to be, but the loss of like
who I was
who I
before
was.
I was a mother. And that's a conversation we don't like to have, like, at
Right.
all.
Right.
But I was 21 years old when I became a mother. My child was a pill and condom baby. That was not what I expected for my early 20s. And there was a great deal of mourning that went along with that. But God forbid I say anything about it, because that makes me a terrible mother. So on Mother's Day, it's not just about celebrating my children. It's about celebrating who I have become.
Yeah.
It is very important to me that I acknowledge that there has been loss, there has been these trials, and that I am absolutely a better person for being a mother, and I should be able to be sad about who I've lost along the way.
I wonder too, like when I try to put myself in the position of like someone who's putting up the post and either isn't a mother because they could not be, or they aren't a mother because they chose not to be, and that there is like constant pressure and maybe even a like undervaluing or devaluing of like the fact that they aren't a mother, and therefore, you know what I'm saying? It's like they don't get as much celebration on a regular basis. And like I
Yeah, we
understand that.
don't celebrate the childless by choice women at all. They're subversive in a way that we don't like to acknowledge, and I get
Yeah.
that. I do,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. And I think we should talk about that.
we should.
But it doesn't mean that we
Do we have
cancel
to talk
Mother's
about it
Day
on
on
Mother's
Mother's
Day? Do
Yeah.
we have to talk about it on Mother's Day? The one day where my children and my partner feel obligated to,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
mom, right?
Well, it came up at the dinner table last night too. Um, one of my kids said like, "How come there isn't Auntie's Day and Uncle's Day?" And I just freaking I rolled my eyes so hard that I almost lost one of them. An eyeball almost popped out of my head because I was just like, I mean, yeah, like. And then I didn't have a great answer, but I kind of went on to say like everybody has a birthday. We celebrate everybody's birthday because we celebrate that person. And then when we look at like the different roles that people have, and I think that we should be definitely celebrating people for like who they are. And I do that often, right? Like I will let people know how much I value and respect them for just who they are and how they show up in my life, but in the world too. Um, and I don't know, maybe you have a better response to that than I do. I was just kind of like, I mean, mothers shit. I think for a long time.
So I know in Japan there's Grandparents' Day, and I also have made fun of that for many years. Like,
They
okay,
already had the Mothers and Fathers Day.
right. Like, I I recognize our desire to make celebrations out of things, and like Valentine's Day is not a holiday in my house. It's not one. You know what I do celebrate? Half price chocolate day.
Yeah.
I love February 15th. Give me all of that heart-shaped chocolate for 60% off. Heck yes, I'm
100%.
here for that. Here for that. But I don't need to be love day, whatever. Every day should be love day. And I feel that very strongly. Like, I've been married for 20 years and it's lasted this long because we don't make a big deal out of Valentine's Day. We celebrate our relationship every
Day.
single day. But motherhood, fatherhood, and motherhood comes first for a reason, if we're being honest about it, right? Mother's Day is first because we want to make sure that mom gets her day before dad's day is commiserate. Like, that's just the way it is. But those are thankless jobs. They are. I don't get much thanks for being a mom. I get, here, fill my cup. What are you making for dinner? where are we going? What
Yeah.
are we doing? What are you doing for me, mother?
Yeah.
That's every day.
Yeah. Well, think about me first for the most part, right? Like put your stuff aside. And I think the thing is this is like again, I'll kind of go back to everybody has a mother. Um and because we're talking about Mother's Day, I'll focus on this, but it's like everybody has a mother and we have to recognize that that required an awful lot of time and effort and digging real fucking deep when you didn't have anywhere to dig to, you were at the bottom. So again, I think, and you said, trying to think of what you said that like struck a chord for me, but it's like, it's a thankless job. Most of the things that we do in life, especially like work wise, we get paid for them, so they're not thankless, right?
Right.
Um,
There's compensation, remuneration. There is no especially in North America. Society is built on the backs of mothers, and the best we get is one fucking day a year.
yeah, yeah. Well, and on both sides of it, like I get the whole do I want to go here? Okay, sure. I get the whole like there's this separation between like mothers and like I avoid sort of the mompreneur side of things. Like I'm not needing to be in spaces with that kind of energy. However, I also don't want to have to never mention the fact that I am a mom. Like I don't mention it a ton. It's not at the top of my bio if it even makes my bio because sometimes I don't feel like that's relevant at all to like me being respected in the space that I'm in. However, like if I do bring it up and I do mention it, I've definitely had times where I've gotten this like flack or feedback from someone that's like uncomfortable with, I hope this isn't a mom's group or whatever. And it's like, well, it's a group. It happens to be women. Some of
Mhm.
them are moms and some of them are not. Um
But we don't put that same onus on fathers. How many dadpreneurs do you know?
yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, and that you can't the thing like that you can't that you have to somehow pick one of those two things that you're either like out here in full effect like I'm a mom and I'm a mompreneur and I'm like or you have to kind of act like you don't have kids at all because you're and I'm in this middle space where it's like, well, I do have children and they're very important and I also don't necessarily just want to talk about my kids. Like it feels
And I get that. So I have a podcast about kids' movies. I talk about my children all of the time on that show, but I've also never named them on that show because it's important to me to protect their privacy, especially as I am very, very out there on the internet. Like, so I don't talk about their names and I don't generally post photos of them and I try to protect their privacy. But yes, I am still a parent and I am still going to talk about my kids.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, to come back to sort of like how I felt when I woke up this morning, I had this feeling, and I know no one was telling me this explicitly, but I just had kind of had this feeling of like, yeah, I mean, I guess I shouldn't, I don't want anyone else to feel bad with me out here parading my motherhood around in front of them. And that's a big issue for me in all ways where we can't celebrate something because of how it might make someone else feel. And to assume that a mother also doesn't have a lot of like that hasn't also experienced loss. We just don't know people's stories. And so to me, it's like, can we not just celebrate each other? Can we not just celebrate each other without feeling like that takes away from anybody else and their importance here on planet Earth? Because I don't, I'm not judging anybody for any of their choices. And I really feel like I really love getting a message from friends of mine or family members who don't have children and that see me and see what I'm doing and because at the end of the day too, like when I think about my sister, for example, she doesn't have any kids, but she has these two really awesome, like a niece and a nephew who are going to be 13 soon and are really rad people to hang out with. And I did a really fucking job raising them. They're really great people. Partly. I mean, I'm not the only one who raised them is what I'm trying to say. Right. So Yeah.
And yes, I'd like to be celebrated for that. Just for one day. I would like for it to be okay that this is where we're at. I would like for us to also acknowledge the people who are not here, but I don't understand why it has to be done today. Well,
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Around this day. Can't we have this conversation next week?
Yeah.
But we won't. And that's part of the problem. We will not continue this conversation at all after tomorrow. And it'll come back up this time again next year as though, like, we were supposed to have done things in the interim while we were not having this conversation.
Yep. It's like when I get to the grocery store and the grocery store app doesn't work, and then I say I'm going to figure it out when I get home. I don't, because it's not relevant and I'm not at the grocery store anymore. And it upsets me that this conversation has to be happening. Like the fact that today is Saturday and it's not Mother's Day and tomorrow is Mother's Day. And I today have spent a good, and I don't, look, I don't mind. I'm here to have conversation, but a lot of my energy this morning anyway was spent feeling, yeah, a little bit of like guilt and some sort of shame that I wanted to be celebrated around this great thing that I think I've been able to do. And not to mention that for a lot of us, I did not expect myself to be the mother that I am. I'm as shocked as the rest of you that I grew up with. Okay? Like, and when my friend wrote me this week, look, I'm going to read it because I feel like this is me. Before we go, let's both celebrate ourselves and
Mm-hmm.
each other. Okay, so my friend wrote me this week this really beautiful message. She said, I'm reading this really good parenting book and it makes me think of you. You're such a good mom. You're so connected with your kids. And I've had lots of people come to me and say like, what are you like, what are you doing? We had a birthday party for Danny in the backyard, and all of our friends that were there the whole night. Now people were drinking and stuff. It was really funny because like the whole time everyone just kept coming up to me. My kids were hanging out with us, and they blend in. They look like adults now. So they're hanging out with us, and everyone just kept like talking to my kids and then coming over and being like, your kids are just they're so fucking awesome. They're so like, I can't eat, like, what did you, and I'm like, yeah, I did a really good job. And to me, it's one of the things I'm most proudest of in my whole life at this point. Like everybody sees, I think I talk a lot about success, work success, but I'm really not out here bragging all the time about how I blew my own mind.
Good for you.
Thanks. Thank you.
You are a good mom.
All right, now you go.
Okay. So I have voluntarily been locked up with my children for decades now. Like, I chose to homeschool, knowing that it wasn't going to be the easy path, knowing that I would, man, let me tell you about the days where I wish I could send them off to school and get some peace and quiet and not have to deal with my children for a few hours. But so the son that I lost would be 6 now. And when I got pregnant with my youngest, it was very challenging, and that pregnancy was difficult. And I also knew that it was going to be the last, and that it wasn't going to make up for anything, but that I had a real opportunity here to love this child with every fiber of my being. And I have to tell you, if everyone could have a kid that looks at them the way my 4-year-old looks at me, sometimes it makes me feel inadequate. There's just such a purity of, I love my mommy. And I am very proud that we have such a good relationship, and that I have that relationship with my older two by default now. I've become a better parent because the days are long, but the years are short, right? Like it goes by so fast, and I have tried really hard to make every day count.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of that.
I never know how to say like I'm proud of you too because it feels really strange to say that,
You
but
know,
like
but
I'm proud of you too. Like I've learned even in our friendship that hasn't been that long. I just feel like this is a funny thing to say, but like when someone just kind of you kind of pick up things like through osmosis, or like it's contagious in the way that like when I spend time with you, even the way that you talk to me, I I get parenting indirect parenting advice because you've parented me kind of, Briar. So like this week with your suggestions around like my inner talk, I've had major I've had major movement and like improvement and shifts, and I know you're a good parent because how you treat others and how you treat me. And I think like that's the other thing, right? Like the parents of the world often are parenting people who are not even their children. Boom, mic drop.
so let me tell you what you've given me in
Okay.
our short time together. My parents did not play with me. I did not play well as a child, but I am already starting to pick up what play like feels like, just being with you. There's this sense of spontaneity that I get from you that I've never really been able to just generate on my own, and I love that. I love how quick you are to get a laugh, to play a game, to get someone to smile. That to me is the essence of grace, and I love you deeply, deeply for it.
Thank you. That, I mean, like that means a lot because although I'm not really like I always say like that's what I'm aiming to do, but it's not like an effort. It's just who I'm trying. It's just who I am, right? So I really appreciate that. And I didn't expect us to go here on this.
No, I'm all gushy and emotional
I know.
now.
I'm trying not to always be the first person to cry. So it's like
Hey, you
just
should hang out with me more often because I cry at everything at the drop of a hat. So
do
it's,
you?
oh God.
That's me. Like I'm always the crier, but that's the thing too that I'm kind of also watching because I don't think it's ever been manipulative, but it's sort of like sometimes it's a scapegoat in a sense of really staying in the moment with something that's like difficult or hard to hear. So I'm just noticing when um I'm genuinely feeling moved to tears or whether I'm like, yeah, trying to where I'm feeling bad for myself kind of thing because that's the white lady tears are strong. But I think I really appreciate having this conversation
Yes.
because I feel like healed around it, and it's hard to just put up a post and then leave it out lingering in the ethers.
It's really important to me that I get to have a good day tomorrow. It's important to me every year, but like after especially this last year, I really, really, really need a day to be acknowledged for the work that I've done. And I'm not ashamed to say that I need that.
Yeah.
I need that. And I need it to be okay. So I'm really glad that we could have this conversation because I feel better about it. I'm going to
Yeah.
go probably not log back onto social media again until Monday. And I'm just going to allow this to be the end cap for me around this weekend.
Yeah.
Mother's Day starts early. It's starting now, and we're just
We're
gonna.
doing it. It's Mother's Day weekend and we've reset the tone. And
Mhm.
I think I even have some more specific requests that I'm not going to feel bad about giving my family. Like I'm going to be like, shower me with the compliments. My kid's still sitting next to me. So she should
Doing
be
your
making notes.
taxes,
Doing that is the biggest gift of all. Doing
right?
like doing the thing I didn't want to do. And you know what? Here's what she did. Let me thank my child. She came down this morning. I came in and I started doing my taxes, and she came down and she said, I'm here to see how you're doing and see what you need for support, and if you just want company and someone to hang out with you. And it's like, I mean, that's how I know. That's how I know. That's how I know that she's an amazing person, and that
you are an amazing mother.
yeah, because she cares about that kind of shit. She notices when somebody needs. Now I'm gonna cry. You know, she notices when someone just needs that little bit extra, and that's a big value of mine. So, I love you. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. If anyone else has been listening to this, and look, I love you all, but like, let's just take a moment to celebrate the mothers. Thank you to all of the
Thank you.
mothers.
Thank you to the mothers. Thank you, Grace.
Thank you,
Thank you for
Briar.
doing this. I love
Thank you.
you.
Bye.